all that time of rain, I hadn't really came out here and worked on my raised beds very much, and tons of weeds. Like, I mean, it is just covered with weeds. So while I'm picking weeds, I thought I'd take a second, make a little video about something that I've been thinking about today. We actually had to replant several things behind me. The first time we planted them, we had a bunch of weird weather issues and some of the seeds did not come up. My tomatoes are doing great. Most of my stuff is doing good, but like my okra, my corn, my zucchini did not grow. So my girls and I got up early this morning and we started replanting all of those things. And now I'm weeding, and I was just thinking earlier, as my girls and I were out here, right beside of me, like right here, there's my great-grandparents' old home, their home place, and I'm trying to throw out all the weeds, and you know, I know for a fact that that was here before 1920. I know that they owned it before 1920. I think that maybe even one of their sons was born in 1920, which would be my grandfather. Anyway, point is, that house was right there in 1920 and before. And as I'm looking at the things that are going on right now around us, I just was thinking that those same kind of things were happening then, when my great-grandparents lived right here. And I know for a fact that they planted a garden right in the same spot where I'm working right now. I'm weeding my onions. I'm sure that they did gardening on a lot larger scale. They had many, many acres. They had almost 100 acres that they farmed. But, you know, they lived there in a tiny little shack. They grew their garden. It may not even have been a victory garden for them necessarily. I think it was more just a way of life. But they made it through all of those things. They made it through World War I and World War II. They made it through the influenza pandemic. They made it through all the stresses that came with a changing world later on, with all the things that were going on with other injustices. And then they made it through all of those. I know we've been calling gardens this year our victory gardens. That's what they called them during the wars a long time ago. And I don't know, I was just thinking about the fact that they, you know, this is all new to us, but there have been many times in history that the same types of things have happened. They made it through. They made it through because they were mentally strong. They made it through because they persevered, because they didn't give up, because they were able to think for themselves, because they were able to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps and work hard, and because they persevered, they made it through. And because they did, we can look back at that, and that can encourage us that we can too. I know they made it through because here I sit 100 years later in the same place, in the same garden spot, doing kind of the same thing they would have been doing, just weeding my onions, with a lot of things in my mind. I'm sure it weighed heavy on their mind then too. And you know what? I can look back and know that because they were able to make it, they were able to get through this, that we are all going to be able to make it and get through this too. Anyway, I just wanted to share that little bit of encouragement to you, that, you know, this is not the first time in history that any of these things have happened. They're happening for a reason. Life is always changing, moving. Hopefully some of these things will actually change us for the better if we... I was also thinking as I'm weeding, look how big that weed is. It's like a week of not weeding, only 1 week. That whenever this whole pandemic started and we were all home for a long time, I was like, wow, this is really nice. My kids are getting along better. I'm getting so many extra things done that I've put off before. I'm really gonna have to weed out a couple of things in my life to make sure we can maintain this lifestyle. I really appreciate this and I'm enjoying this. But now things are getting back to normal. You know, a lot of people are no longer in quarantine at all. life is pretty much just back to normal. And we may have forgotten about all of those little things that we said, oh, we're going to make those changes. And so all those little weeds are starting to regrow back up in our lives. Just want to remind you to take the time to reevaluate again all the things that you said you were going to change a few months ago, and make sure that they're not just growing up in the middle of your garden, in the middle of your life again. If they are, maybe you need to pluck them out. And for all of you guys that planted gardens, just in general, hope that your gardens are doing well. You know, the whole point behind the victory garden is that there's a certain amount of hope that it gives you. You know, it's giving you something to look forward to. Some of my favorite quotes are there's a quote that says, to plant a seed to hope in tomorrow. And then there's also another saying that I really like, and it is, true purpose in life is when you are planting trees under whose shade you do not plan to sit under. So I really like that. I really like the thought of that we are planting seeds right now that we may never even see the fruits of. Maybe it will be our kids one day, or our grandkids. The changes that we are making, some of the hard topics that we're having to talk about at our family tables, those can be the things that change, that are life changing. You know, we may never see the fruits of those, but eventually someone will see the fruits of those. Anyway, just wanted to remind you, as I sat here beside my great-grandparents' house, they did it, so can we. Hang in there. Don't let all these things and all the fear control your mind. Get up, get moving, do something productive, something that's going to make a change for the positive. Don't just sit around dwelling on the negatives. They didn't have time to sit around and dwell on everything negative. They got up and they did something. They did what they could to be the change. They did what they could to help themselves. And I just want to encourage you guys to do the same. And if any of those little things in your life are starting to pop up again, don't forget to take a little time and pull them back up and reweed your life a little bit if you need to. You guys have a blessed day.